you. Over to you, JC.
Right. Thank you very much, Deacon. Yes, I've found myself in a situation of being interviewed by a lot of newspaper and magazine and TV across the years, because I was in an association led by Olivier Cadic. And I'm going to explain that actually in my short story. So I'm going to get to that in a minute. Actually, you invited me, and thank you very much for that. You invited me to talk about my experience as an entrepreneur and as a French national living in Ashford, and and the impact it has. So the small discussion here is in three parts. I will explain who I am and what I've been doing here for the past 25 years. What is the impact on my business? Regarding the Eurostar not stopping in Ashford, and what in the third part, what I believe we can do, and what I would do, in the business perspective. I mean, if it was a business problem, that I had to face for my company, for example. So, if you're okay, I'm going to explain that. So, as you said, I'm a French national, so that explained the weird accent and probably the wrong use of some syntax errors pretty much all over, and etc. So I'm apologize in advance for my poor English, but I'll do my best. So I've got three kids. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm currently the CEO of a company called Mail Expertise. We develop digital marketing automation platforms. So it's a little bit technical, but it's basically technology, web technology into digital marketing. And we work with companies like Renault, Hugo Boss, Pandora, Tesco, Michael Kors, B&Q, Currys, to name a few. We generate a revenue of approximately 4 million, and we employ around 20 people. It should be more, but since COVID and Brexit, it has become a real challenge. And I guess for all businesses, not only for us, to recruit personnel. So if you're looking for a job, just please apply, because we do look for people to hire some people. I've been an Ashfordian for the best part of the last 25 years. And I think I'm a good example of the Eurostar generation. I was initially a consultant in marketing living in Paris. I was working with companies such as Microsoft, Orange, etc. But I was not happy. I wanted to create my business. I've always wanted to create my business. And despite my energy, ambition, and hard work, amongst the main problems I had was that I had a fairly modest upbringing, meaning I had no capital, I had no experience, I had no knowledge, I had no connections. And I was in France at the time in a very unfavorable environment, where you needed approximately about 50,000 francs at the time. So that's 25 years ago. So that's a fairly consequent sum of money to incorporate a company. So you had no possibility to create a business with a £1 private limited company. You could not be a sole trader. So it was very, very unfavorable. And I've never heard of Ashford until I heard about a French entrepreneur, Olivier Cadic, who had relocated his business and family to Ashford, and was inviting other French entrepreneurs who were facing difficulties in France, either to set up a business or to develop their business, to do the same. So what did I do? I took a Eurostar, landed in Ashford, and found out what I've been looking for a long time, which is what I believe was the perfect environment to start up a business. So I came back to Paris. I left my job. I left my apartment in Paris, and I moved to Ashford, and I set up my first business. The first business I set up was in consultancy, specializing in international operation and cross-cultural management. But that's not really relevant to that. I started on my own. At the time, I benefited from a loan from the HSBC and from the PYBT, the Prince's Youth Business Trust, which was an organization that was supporting young entrepreneurs who needed some financial help to set up their business. And because of that, I could start my journey as an entrepreneur. 25 years later, I've created, developed, and sold several companies. with tens of millions of revenue, paid millions in taxes, it generated hundreds of jobs, directly or indirectly, and I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud, and I'm also very, very grateful because of this, circumstance and this environment that I benefited from. And as a principal, you don't want to forget who helped you in the first place when you needed it. So I made the pledge to defend the interests of this country and Ashford in particular, and this is why I'm here today. So this is a little bit of my story. So Eurostar has always been a very, very important role in Ashford attractiveness. And I mean, Philip and Andrew has, shown some very interesting documents that demonstrate that. But in reality, if you've lived in Ashford, in the past 10, 20 years, the impact that the Eurostar had on the attractiveness on the on Ashford as a whole and generally and the whole region. So it's incredibly important for businesses and for its investment. And I mean, this is a fact. This is undeniable. I mean, nobody can dispute that. My companies, because I've set up different companies in different sectors, but always have a very strong connection with the continent, whether with my clients or with partners or with staff. And my activities have always required excellent connection to the continent. It has become a really, really important part of how we operate the business. And I've realized that most of my business opportunity come from actually meeting people, meeting clients, meeting investors, participating to events, and representing the company. And being able to go to Paris, Lille, or Brussels in less than 2 hours was absolutely vital for my business, and it's still absolutely vital for my business. So we haven't completely lost this ability, but because of the difficulties now that we're facing with increasing time travel, with increasing costs, with et cetera, it has made things much more difficult. As I think it was Philip who mentioned that, or Andrew, sorry. But I used to go to Paris or Lille or Brussels, leaving in the morning and coming back in the evening, and being able to pack 20 meetings back to back. And that was very easy to do. And it was an incredible asset and a source of production of value for my business. Also, the possibility to travel on last minute, like being able to take a ticket for the next day and not necessarily have to plan things too much in advance, and to adapt to the necessity to meet a client, for example, for an urgent situation or whatever. That has been absolutely essential, and that I've personally lost that ability completely now with the current situation. It's because there is still less traffic, and I mean, all Eurostar are pretty much full all the time. And if you don't book in advance, I mean, it's impossible to go in the next day. So it's really, really complicated. And basically, you can't do that today. You need to book a hotel. You need to stay 2 to 3 days to being able to do what you used to do in one day before. And it has a massive, massive impact. Again, in terms of cost, it has also an impact. It's more an inconvenience that a real problem for us businesses. It is a problem. It's not a massive problem. The problem is that I can't afford to be 2 or 3 days away from my business. I wouldn't say every week, but every other week. It's too complicated. Before I could do this job in one day, I can't do it now, and it is a real problem. So the consequences I had and my staff had to cut back drastically on the number of trips that we were doing to Paris and Brussels. I estimate that we probably had the loss over the last couple of years, over the last 2 years, 2 years and a half. We probably had a loss of up to $1 million in revenue, in missed opportunities because of that, and about $1 million as well in investment opportunities as well. All of that should have generated jobs. It should have generated revenue, profit, taxes. All of that has not happened. And of course, staff opportunities. The other thing we had to do as well is we had to, for the first time in 25 years, and it really pains me to actually say that, but for the first time in 25 years, we had to resort to to hire staff outside the UK to sort of compensate for our inability to be present, in France, Belgium, or wherever on the continent when needed. And this is, again, lack of employment here for the Ashfordians. It's a massive problem. So
JC,
that's the
JC,
yes.
sorry. Can I just wind you up in about a sort of minute? So if you can
Of
sort of
course.
bring things to a conclusion in about a minute. It's fantastic stuff. So absolutely great.
Really
so if we can ask,
insightful.
really great.
Okay. I'll finish in a couple of sentences. I mean, it is undeniable. I mean, the importance of the Eurostar is absolutely undeniable, and I mean, no one can dispute that. Neither Eurostar. I don't think they really care. I'll be completely honest. I don't think they really care about that. If I had to deal with that on a business perspective, I would say that the only way to actually get to a result is to force them to respect the deal. I mean, they have a deal, which is the exploitation of this line between Paris and London with stops in Ashford, etc. And there's a contractual arrangement in place. They cannot decide on their own to stop this this contract. So either they should face financial penalties, financial sanctions, if they do not want to reopen it, or we should open this line to competition. We know there are companies from Spain and from other countries that are lining up to actually take this line, and that discussion should be opened, because if Eurostar do not want to have this line open, some other company will. But I think I think it's a political decision. I think it comes essentially from the government, who need to force the discussion and need to impose its will. It's not only an economical factor, it's also a political factor. And I think the government should be acting more strongly about this. And that's it. So I'm wrapping it up. Sorry.
Thank you very much, JC. No, really appreciate your contribution is absolutely brilliant, because we're seeing the inside of an entrepreneur running a business